And we are back on magical episode 125. And we are excited on the Chosen Life podcast. Wayne Frazier of Doug Lurie Sports, Jonathan A. Cohen, Bible 3.0, author. There you go. And
branding is key.
Corman's LLP Law Firm, Real Estate and Corporate. And we're talking today about recapping a little portion of the NFL draft. And Wayne, I didn't tell you we're going to do it this way, but I'm going to have a lot of fun with you because I love your NFL takes and reactions. So you and I are sitting together in our living room. It's the NFL draft. The first 12 picks of the NFL draft, they are announced. I'm sitting with you. It's now live. I want to hear Wayne's takes. How are you feeling about that?
I think with the exception of the Penix pick at 8 to Atlanta, I think everything else pretty much went the way that I expected it to go. All this talk about, the Commanders want Drake May. No, they didn't. They wanted Jaden Daniels the whole time. And the Patriots were absolutely in love with May. And it was known that people were making big offers. The Giants, a couple of other teams were trying to move up to third to take May. And the Patriots were like, nope, we're taking him, right? Arizona taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, I think you're kind of stuck there because you've got to get some help for Kyler Murray. And in any other year, or almost any other year, Harrison would probably be the number one overall draft pick in a draft. So you can't pass that guy up, right? All to the Chargers, that's a Harbaugh move, right? People who own Justin Herbert in fantasy leagues, they want to run the ball. They're going to move towards running the ball more, right? And Joe Alt is the start of that. I thought the Giants did a great job. Neighbors, if you couldn't get your guy, if you really thought your guy was Drake May and you couldn't get him, well, then you get the best available receiver. And Neighbors, again, it's kind of a toss-up between him and Harrison and Odunze, between the three of them. They were all guys who could have been number one overall picks in other years or very close, right? Tennessee taking a tackle, absolutely, sure, makes a lot of sense. Then you get to Atlanta. And I'm sure both of us would have dropped the chips at that point.
Let's pause there for a moment. Let's pause on that one for a second. I want to go back to number one. Looking back now, and we all knew this was going to happen. We know Caleb's going to go to the Bears, right? They made their choice. And I thought he presented really well at the draft. I thought he was well-spoken. I thought he gave good energy to Chicago. I liked the vibe and how he approached it. Ultimately, looking back now and reflecting, are you still of the opinion that this pick will not end up working out for the Bears?
Yes. Yeah, it depends on how you define working out. Is Caleb Williams going to be a 15-year franchise quarterback for the Bears? I think the odds are less than 50-50 on that, right? Now that's a big ask. That's a big reach for a guy. But this is a guy that you could have traded this pick away and probably gotten 3 first-round picks and another really good player.
And kept Justin Fields. Yeah.
Or signed Russell Wilson for a year. Or somebody else. Whatever you want to do, right? That's how I tend to view these things is, can Williams be successful? Yeah, he absolutely can. He can be a very good quarterback in the NFL. And they've done a very good job of building around him. He's got a good roster there now, right? Do I think he's going to be at any point in his career the best quarterback in the NFL? No, I just don't see that. I think that there are some issues with his translation from playing at USC to the NFL and how he sort of wants to run an offense and what he feels capable of doing. And maybe he grows out of maybe running first. Maybe he grows out of trying to force some of the throws down the field and things like that. Maybe that happens. But you're also talking about a guy who has basically been coddled since he was 10 years old. Like, he's not a guy who grew up and really struggled with things. And here we're going to find out the Chicago Bears will make you struggle one way or the other, whether it's the weather, whether it's the team or surrounding them, whether it's play calling or whatever else.
The fans.
Yeah, the fans. I don't know. I just don't see it in Caleb Williams. I hope I'm wrong for Bears fans, but if it was me, if I had been with the Bears, I would have traded out of the first overall pick. I would have probably traded maybe to third if you really want to get a new quarterback, or maybe even flip with the Commanders. If you want Jaden Daniels, I'm not completely sold on Daniels either. I mean, of all the guys that they're talking about in this draft, I think the Falcons got the best quarterback. I really believe that.
We'll get to him, I
Yeah,
promise.
yeah. But these other guys, there were lots of discussions about Drake May failing interviews with teams because he's very quiet, right? Jaden Daniels, God love him. He could be amazing. Like, he could be Michael Vick. And I don't know that he has Vick's arm. I don't know that anybody had Vick's arm. Like, my God. But he could be Michael Vick. Or
Electrifying.
yeah, or he could get the crap knocked out of him. Right? Um, I guess that's true when you look at any NFL draft, but especially for quarterbacks, man, the running guys just don't seem to last very long, right? That's not the guy that I'm drafting number 2 overall.
So the Commanders, I mean, looking at that pick, everywhere I read and all the experts thought that it was going to be Drake May. They were convinced it was going to be Drake May, and and that Jaden Daniels was going to fall. That the Patriots are not taking Jaden Daniels. So the Commanders, I think, actually did the smart thing here. Actually looking at the players and reading about them, watching a little bit of their videos, and you know what? I think they went with a non-Commanders type quarterback, and they said, you know what, we're gonna try something different here. We have a new owner, new energy. I like the pick. You know what?
Yep.
You need to start off somehow. You know, you have a new team name and everything else, so let's do this. I don't hate the pick for them. You know what? I think that Daniels is more advanced than May at this stage, but the Patriots, it's a very Patriots type pick with May.
Right. He fits what Robert Kraft wants, right? He wanted a Drake May type. He
The
wanted,
golden boy,
yes, exactly, right?
the
And
Tom
and
Brady-ish.
and that's fine, right? However, I think in a year when you didn't have Caleb Williams and you didn't have Jaden Daniels, and you had all these other quarterbacks, and this very quarterback heavy class, would Drake May have gone in the top 10 in another year? If he was the only quarterback in the draft that year and somebody desperately needed a quarterback, I think maybe. But I think because this was just a perfect storm, right? You had 6 quarterbacks who were definitely mid-second round and above. You had one guy who was going to be the number 1 overall pick for sure. And then you had 4 or 5 other guys, and Daniels and May and Penix and Bo Nix and McCarthy, who were all sort of in the mix there, right? But when you've got 3 teams at the top of the draft who are just absolutely, I've got to have a quarterback, right? And then you've got another few teams down below. When Minnesota moved, when they let Cousins go, they've signaled to the world, we need a quarterback. We've got to take one in this draft. The Broncos have done exactly the same thing. So, is Robert Kraft and are the Patriots going to be willing to sit Drake May for a year or two and let Jacoby Brissett run this team? I hope so, because May's not ready to step in and start. He's just not ready to do that. Is he worthy of being the third overall pick in this draft? I look at the Commanders and I say, okay, you believed in Jaden Daniels so much that you rebuffed efforts for people to move up also. Although they may not have been trading for Daniels, they might have been trading for May, right, to get to two. The Commanders roster is not as horrible as people think it is. It's okay. Again, though, what could you have gotten for that pick? And if you're New England, what could you have gotten for the third pick from the Giants, from Minnesota, from Denver, to not take Drake May, move down and take JJ McCarthy later? You probably could have gotten, and this is the equation, right? It's I got Drake May, or I got JJ McCarthy and I got a first rounder next year or 2 seconds. What's the bigger equation? If you really believe Drake May is that guy, and the Patriots, by all rights, apparently do, then you stick and you take your guy. But boy, that guy better hit. He better be good in a year or two. You better be ready to start him. Because again, it's been proven over and over statistically that really, outside of a few players in every draft, the rest of it's a crapshoot. And the more shots, the more darts you can throw at the board, the better off your chances of sticking one or two or three of those guys. I mean, the goal of every draft is to try to find 4 starters. That's what you're looking for, right? Well, is there really an appreciable difference outside of the top 25 or 30 guys and the next 2 or 3 rounds? You can always move back and take 2 or 3 offensive linemen or defensive linemen who are going to be very good, contributors, and they're going to probably give you more than a middle of the road quarterback or a better than average quarterback. A lot of it has to do too with just paying people on a rookie contract, right? But again, you're gonna be a year or two before make and play. I just I wasn't that excited about most of these guys at the top of the draft. Not nearly as excited as the teams were.
So I gotta ask you, Wayne, like when I'm reflecting on that on the Patriots and Drake May, why didn't Jones work out? I have a couple questions as far as comparison wise, but number one, why didn't Jones end up working out? I mean, he was should have been the golden boy. It should have been a good situation for him. Yeah, they're rebuilding and everything else, but he should have been better than he was, I thought. He was run out of town. What happened there? Was he just simply not that good?
I think it's a combination of they did not have any receivers. None. I mean, like, look at their roster right now. The Patriots, their receiving core is awful. And their best other offensive player was Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, nothing against Stevenson. I like him, but they're bad offensively. Their play calling was not very good. Jones was pretty good his first season, right? He played pretty well. The other thing is that apparently nobody in the locker room liked him. Like, he just was not a particularly strong leader. And I think, look, could they have kept him to try to work things out? They could have. Is Mac Jones, is Drake May twice as good as Mac Jones? I don't know. Drake May has the physical tools, but is he going to be better than Mac Jones when the people surrounding him are bad? Probably not. I mean, the Patriots are not, again, they're not going to be good this year. So, it seems to be sort of look at all the quarterbacks drafted over the last 3 or 4 years who have utterly flamed out. Like, there are tons of guys. I mean, Pittsburgh giving up on Pickett as quickly as they did. That people are like, oh, well, he adjusted. That was, again, I think that was a character locker room thing. I think they didn't like the guy after they drafted him, right?
And Justin Fields was the exact reverse. Everybody loved him.
Yep.
Everybody rallied around him. He was a leader and he was improving, they still, there's a very short leash now. So this is where Mac Jones is one thing, but the whole talk was that the Vikings were going to trade up. They're going to trade up because they have to get their quarterback. They got rid of Cousins. They were the smartest ones in this draft in the sense that they just waited and waited and waited, and they got a guy, and they got maybe he was the guy that they wanted. I like JJ McCarthy at number 10 a hell of a lot more than I like Drake May at number 3. Am I crazy?
No, no. Um, because again, by looking at, okay, what other assets could you have gotten? If you could somebody have taken McCarthy earlier? Nobody was going to take McCarthy in front of Daniels or May or Williams for sure, right? They probably weren't going to take him in front of, obviously the Giants could have taken him at 6, but they didn't like him, right? Apparently, right?
Not compared to
The
what they had.
Falcons could have taken him at 8, and they didn't like him that much either. Do I think McCarthy is the next Brady? I don't believe that at all. Do I think he's ever going to be a top level quarterback in the NFL? It depends on what you mean. I think that McCarthy in that system with Justin Jefferson and with the other things that they have there, the other tools that they have there, I think he can step in and play by the middle of the season if they want. But I think they're probably going to give him most of the year or a whole year and let Sam Darnold run that offense, because I don't see that Sam Darnold is appreciably different than JJ McCarthy. I
So
actually think
just as more experience.
well, and I think Darnold actually has better physical tools. I mean, you're talking about a guy. Darnold was what, number 2, number 3 overall? There's a reason a guy gets drafted that high as a quarterback. The same reason you're looking at Drake May, physical tools. Now, are we going to say that Sam Darnold failed? Well, what opportunity was he given? The Jets, enough said, and Carolina, when they're horrible, right? And he went to San Francisco and never got a chance to play. There was a big discussion the other day. I was listening to a shout out to Cecil Lamney and the Audible through Football Guys. They're wondering, with Drew Lock being in with the Giants right now, did they have 2 Geno Smiths in Seattle? I think Drew Lock, if he gets a chance to play this year, with the tools that they now have around him, I think he's going to be a pretty damn good quarterback. People are going to be like, well, what the hell? Why did it take this long? Because some guys just get put into crap positions. There's a reason they're drafted high, right? Sometimes Christian Ponder in Minnesota. Sometimes guys just get drafted because there's a run on quarterbacks. I kind of feel the same way about McCarthy here. I think McCarthy was probably an end of the first round talent, but that doesn't mean he won't succeed. It just means that he has to be put into the right situation. He does not have overwhelming physical skills, right? The right situation for him is Minnesota. That's a good pick for them. Bo Nix at 12. People are like, holy crap. Really? We thought he was going to go in the second round. If you believe he has the physical tools, which he does, and you believe that he is one of the best processors in the draft, and you want him to run Sean Payton's offense the way Drew Brees ran it, Bo Nix is your guy there. Makes sense.
But what's his hand size?
I don't know. I don't know Bo Nix's hand
They
size.
need to show this on the NFL draft from now on. I want to know their hand sizes, as they're getting drafted. But I don't want to glance too much on Bo Nix because we're ending today's episode shortly. But Bo Nix, nice pick. Broncos have their issues clearly. We've already covered them nauseum. The one pick that everybody seems to be really, really focused on, and I'm going to hold my commentary till I hear yours because I have a feeling where you're going to go with it. At number 8, the Falcons grabbing Michael Penix Jr. at QB. What was your reaction, Wayne, and what do you think about it today?
I was shocked at the time. The more I think about it, I still think that's too high. Just because it's too high. It's not too high for the situation, I guess. He wouldn't have lasted past 13. The Raiders would have taken Penix at 13. The Raiders were trying to move up to take Penix. Look, I think we talked about this a month ago. I think Penix is the best quarterback in this draft. Now, is he the best prospect? No. He's old. He's 25, right? But is he the guy that can step in right away and make your team really good? Yes. Is that the guy you want to take if you're the Falcons when you just signed Kirk Cousins? No. But Kirk Cousins is coming off an ACL. You have no guarantee that he's going to last, that he's going to make it out of training camp, much less last another year or two. That contract, although it's a huge contract, it's only 2 years guaranteed, right?
$100 million.
Yeah. Well, but that's the price for a quarterback now, pretty much, right? So you offset that by taking a guy that they felt was better. I think they thought he was a better prospect than Mays and Daniels. I really believe that the Falcons thought that. They take a guy that they can now pay $4.8 million a year for 4 or 5 years, and they've got a dude on their bench that can start. They know this guy can start, and he is a stud, and he is thrilled. What does that tell you about Michael Penix? Immediately, the reaction was, holy crap, Michael Penix is going to be mad because he could have gone and started somewhere. And what did Penix say? Man, I'm really excited to learn from Kirk Cousins. I'm really excited to be able to learn from this guy who has seen it all and spend a year soaking this up. Now, I think what you have to be worried about is Kirk Cousins, because apparently they did not consult with Cousins on this.
No, they call him as they're making the pick.
Yeah, they're making the pick, right? And look, be a man. This is the way the NFL works, right? They talked about the big problem that most of the draft guys had with this was you just spent all this money for Kirk Cousins, and now you're going to draft this guy. Why would you not take Rome Odunze there and give Kirk Cousins another tool? Why would you not take Talise Fuaga and protect Cousins, right? Those are good questions. They are good questions. I don't see them taking Penix any differently than I see the Patriots taking Drake May or the Commanders taking Jayden Daniels, because if you think he's your guy and you think that's the best value in the draft and you think you're going to be better in the next 2 or 3 years than you have been in a long time, and you're going to be picking in the 20s and 30s, are you going to get Michael Penix in the 20s and 30s in another draft? You are not. You are not getting him at 22 or 26 in the next drafts. You go get that guy now.
So, Wayne, how old is Kirk Cousins?
36? 37?
Now, how many NFL teams are there?
32.
32. Okay.
Or is it 30? 32. Right.
Yeah. We always mix it up with MLB.
Yeah.
So, Jordan Love, where would you say he rates as far as what number of quarterback off the top of your head as far as out of 32? Is he number 1, number 5, number 6? Where would you rate Jordan Love?
I would put Love. I have to remember to separate my fantasy football cap from the real football cap. Okay. I would put Love somewhere between 6 and 8.
Good place to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So he worked out pretty well in Green Bay. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
This is how I see that pick. Exactly how I see that pick. Jordan Love was the understudy, right? Starter goes away. He's had his issues since. He got really pissed at the time when they made the pick, saying, I don't understand this. Doesn't affect your freaking... First of all, it doesn't affect the money you're making. Number 2, what's the difference when we're planning for year 2, 3, 4? Go be the starter. Go live your life. You can help him understudy. And guess what? If you're injured, he can step in for you. And guess what? Eventually, when you're going to be gone, because you will be gone, because guess what, Kirk Cousins? You're not going to be here for 10 years. So don't worry what we're doing in year 3 plus. I think they smart planning for today and for the future. And they got roasted on every single medium for this. And they're going to end up with Jordan Love. I'll guarantee you this. In 2 years from now, people are going to say, or let's say 3 years. In 3 years from now, guarantee they're going to say, This is the second coming of Jordan Love. These guys were geniuses.
I think the more reflection that happened after the draft, immediately you saw guys, yeah, just absolutely destroying the Falcons. And then within 3 or 4 days, some of the smarter analysts started thinking about this and going, look, it was known, the owner, Arthur Blank, he's tired of running in circles. They seem to always be filling holes, right? And they talked a lot, and Terry Fontenot, the GM, he talked about this. They want a succession plan, a plan. God forbid the Falcons have a plan, right? So if your owner is willing to listen to you as a GM and you say to him, look, I know you just spent what in essence is 90 to $100 million for this quarterback. And yeah, we could go get Rome Odunze. We could go get Latu or Fuaga or Dallas Turner. There was some talk about Turner going to Atlanta at 8, right? We could get one of those guys and they will make a more immediate impact on the team. Or we can get a guy that we think is going to be a top 5 to 10 quarterback that will be here for 10 years, that if Cousins goes down, he can start immediately. And in 2 years, when Cousins' knees are totally shot and we cut him, he can step right in and you've got a guy for the next 10 years. What do you want? Do you want us to go get the guy the offensive tackle, who may or may not work out? Or do you want us to get this guy that we really believe in? And now you don't have to worry about this for at a minimum 5 years. Everybody says the quarterbacking is the most important position in sports. I think it's kind of a toss-up between that and being a goaltender at the NHL level. But quarterbacking is the most important thing in football by far. If you don't have that guy, you just aren't going to win, right? At least not a guy, not a guy that fits your system. J.J. McCarthy is never going to be the number one quarterback, but he could be the best fit for the Vikings given what they have, right? So I totally, on second thought, look at this, and I'm not sure, and I can't take credit for this. I'm trying to think of who the hell it was. It might have been one of the guys on the Audible. Let's say the Falcons do play well this year. But Penix proves also in a couple of starts or in the camp or whatever else that he can play. He's ready by the end of the year. What kind of trade value does Kirk Cousins have? Kirk Cousins has really big trade value at the end of the year for a team that needs a quarterback for a year or two. And it doesn't really matter that you get a whole bunch for him. Somebody else will take that salary and give you a second or a third round pick. And now you've cleared all that cap space. You've cleared all that money. Michael Penix is your starter in 2025. And you have $40 million to go sign receivers, offensive linemen, other guys that you need to take you from being. I look at the Falcons this year. I mean, look at that team. They still need another receiver. But I mean, their defense is good. They have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. They have Kyle Pitts. They have Drake London. I mean, they're pretty stocked. Now you put Kirk Cousins in there. You go get one more receiver. And in that division, 10-7 this year, 11-6, playoff team.
Playoff.
That's right.
But Wayne, what if Penix plays a couple of games, plays amazingly? Can you go and get a Herschel Walker type haul for him? Is that a possibility as well?
For Penix, you mean?
For Penix, yeah. So Penix goes and plays so freaking out of his mind, and a team comes and says, you know what, for next year, we want to build around Penix. We'll give you half our roster. Fuck it. Screw it. We'll take him.
Is it possible? It's possible. I don't think there are any GMs or management types in the NFL who are willing to take that gamble anymore. I just really don't believe those guys
Those days are done, eh? Those days are done.
I just don't think those guys exist anymore. You look, as much as people want to dump on Terry Fontenot and Arthur Blanks, hey, you swung for the fences here. You said, I don't give a crap what everybody else thinks about this pick. This is what we believe is the correct process, and you can sit and spin.
Where
And
would
what
where
I'm
would
willing, look at Terry Fontenot. Look, how much buy-in, like I said, how much buy-in do you have from your ownership to be able to do this? To be able to say, we're taking Michael Penix at 8, ahead of where anybody else is going to take him, right after we signed Kirk Cousins. You're putting your job on the line. Terry Fontenot just said to Arthur Blank and to everybody in Atlanta, hey, and if this doesn't work, he'll never get another GM job. I trust that guy then. He might make the wrong decision, but his brain and his heart is in the right place. And even if he screws this one up, I like what he's doing. I think he can get things done better than other guys can, because other guys are going to think they can take advantage of him now. Look at this idiot. He took Penix at 8. Oh, yeah? Call me and tell me what you got on your roster that you want to move.
Wayne, name me the last 3 Green Bay Packer quarterbacks.
Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. Worked out pretty well, huh?
Succession plan, succession plan. That's all I got to say. Where would Green Bay be right now without Jordan Love?
Yeah.
Right?
Look where they're headed. I mean,
they look good. They looked real good last year.
And I mean, and they have, I mean, Christian Watson is almost an afterthought. They have Romeo Doubs. They have, the young tight end. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They've got a ton of talent there. Just unbelievable amounts of talent.
I would just watch what they do and follow that recipe because it seems to be working. We're out of time for today, folks, and stay tuned because next week Wayne will be back and we're going to talk about what he does over at Doug Laurie Sports, and we're going to talk about the wonderful world of sports card collecting and memorabilia and how to start into the industry. Stay tuned. This is the Chosen Life Podcast.